It's the magic of this, right? It's the magic of that thing right there. That screen will make things make things seem so amazing, so grand, so engaging. Like, social media can mobilize and start revolutions in the most positive ways, but can also be so deceptive. Hey everyone, welcome to Get Her to the Movies. I am your lovely host Amadi, and this is going to be episode 7, and this is going to be our Thursday Small Bites. Just a reminder, our Thursday Small Bites are going to be multiple different topics in different sections, and we're gonna chat about them, but not get too deep in them, because that is reserved for our Deep Dive Mondays, where we talk about topics and we go deep into those perspectives and analyzing those topics a little bit more. So let's get into what I have been watching. So I was recommended, like most things, I get recommended things to watch. And if you do have some things that you feel like are really, really good and that I should watch, let me know. I'm always interested in watching new things. But I was recommended to watch Worst Ex Ever. And to be honest, I think overall, yes, these people are horrible. These people are disgusting and deplorable, and how they engaged and treated their significant others and just people in general. In addition, in terms of the true crime drama of it all, I don't feel like these stories were compelling. And even compared to their first season, it didn't quite hit the way that I needed it and or wanted it to hit. So I was just like, okay, I guess. I think the two stories that were most interesting were the one with the woman who was in a marriage and also had a significant other disappear. That was really interesting, because I was just like, what do you do at that point when somebody confesses that they have unalived somebody or was involved with someone's kidnapping? As someone in a relationship. Granted, for me, I did think that there was some form of leeway for the lady, because I was just like, oh, okay, you live in a different state. It's not like you live with this person. It's not like y'all are in the same city. So there are some barriers where you can just remove yourself from them. And I guess the lady obviously didn't feel that way, because she was still tied and or connected to her significant other. But that's how I looked at it. I was just like, girl, run. You are not even in the same state with this lady. Get out. That was one of the best ones, I think, out of the lump of 4. And then the other one was slightly interesting because of the guy himself on 90 Day Fiance, and he's been married multiple times. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's crazy. But once again, it's just I think all together, and we can always say oh, I wouldn't do that, da, da, da. I think that's the theme of responses when we watch these things, when we watch these true crimes. It's just oh no, if this happened to me, ABC, I wouldn't do that, da, 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 da. But you don't know until you know, or until you're actually in it. But I will say I thought a theme within the 4 episodes was a lack of discernment, and I guess I can notice that lack of discernment, because I too have had issues when I was younger with a lack of discernment in my partners. It's just I probably should have checked up more on that. I probably should have done more background checks on that. Do y'all do background checks? Just asking, when you are engaging in a relationship, what are your precautions? What are the things that you decide that you need to do before getting in a relationship? I know I was joking with my brother, because there's somebody that he might know that I might be interested in. And I was just does this man have a passport? What's that? So That's not a necessity for me to engage with somebody or to date somebody, but that was just like questions that I was asking, like to like investigate that person a little bit. So I guess my question to y'all is like, how do you investigate your prospects, like individuals that you know that you possibly might like or that you're engaging with romantically? Do you do background checks? Do you do STD tests? Do you do research on the socials? Do you ask around and ask who knows him? I'm trying to be more discernment in that way. I literally, funny enough, the last two men I were like fake talking to, I did background checks on them and I found out that they lied about their age. So yeah, background checks. Do background checks. You know, it helps us all. It helps us all. And it's just like, I don't know, especially as women out here, we want to be safe. We want to feel like when we are engaging with men, especially sexually, oh my God, like we want to know somewhat who they are, because we truly don't know who people are, because one, do we truly know ourselves? Not trying to get too philosophical here, but it's just like we are constantly as human beings changing and evolving. So we don't know ourselves 110%. So I don't think we can truly know our partners 110%. In addition, what is the percentage that we do know when we're getting into these relationships? And like I said, I have been the person who knew nothing, who was in a relationship with someone who had multiple children, and I did not meet any of them. So it's just like, you're young and you don't engage and you don't do your due diligence for sure. But the older that we get, I like to pass down the knowledge of like, do the background checks, make sure that this person is, if they're sexually active, they are taking their STD test and things of that nature. And I do like to check socials. Like for me, and it's not because like I'm trying to create a social media platform, but for me, like I want to make sure like I can see how you kind of like market yourself, because I think social media is marketing. What do you feel comfortable showing, speaking, and saying to the public, to the world, right? Like if there is somebody who's very comfortable like showing their body and you are more of a conservative person, maybe that might not be the same type of vibe for you. If there is somebody who talks about sexuality and sex and all of those things, and that's not your vibe, you might not be comfortable in doing that. So I think it's just more about like how someone presents themselves. That's why I'm always interested in socials, and not because I have this argument with friends, not because I think this is the 100% representation of yourself, but it's more about what is your mindset as you promote or market yourself or engage with the public. So it's just like, you thought that was okay, or you thought that was fine, and I might be like, oh no, this is crazy. Like for example, like crying on camera, if it's not like somebody else taking a candid and is crying of joy, like I'm like, we might come back 10 years from now and you're like, Amadi, you're lying, you cried on camera. But currently you will see no photos, no videos, no documentation of me crying on camera. Like I just like, that is not something that I want to market. Like I want to be honest, I want to be real, I want to be authentic about myself. 9 times out of 10, I just be in my house doing videos. But like, yeah, no, you're not gonna see me crying on camera. But once again, that's how I market myself. Like 9 times out of 10, like you're not gonna see a lot of racy like photos of me, because I work in education. This is how I'm marketing myself. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyway, I think that these are great examples of doing your due diligence on individuals that you are going to engage with. And if we're rating Worst Ex Ever, the second season, I give it like out of 5, like 0 to 5, I give it like a 2. So the next thing that I'm watching that had the internet roaring, buzzing, talking about the things and like is like a conversation was the Hulu documentary Nature Boy. But when people were talking about the Hulu documentary Nature Boy, then they started talking about hey, there's an actual better documentary on YouTube, and we love YouTube. We're currently on YouTube right now. Is the Hood Horrors Nature Boy documentary. So it literally, I think, is 43, 44 episodes. I think I'm on episode 18, maybe. I have to take breaks from it because it's just the rhetoric and the just if we're talking about auras, talking about energies, all what that's bad. That's a little vibrational. Okay, that's bad energy right there. And so with watching the Hulu documentary and currently in the midst of watching the Nature Boy documentary, I have some thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. And so I was going to put out a video of my initial thoughts about the Nature Boy Hulu documentary. And I was going to say black cults exist, right? I think one of the things that is really, I guess, stands out for me is the idea of we always see these white cults be glorified within media. We see, and it's always through the lens of an innocent white young girl. And I'm thinking about all of the Charles Manson documentaries. It's always through a lens of a innocent white girl getting captured within this sex cult, and she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't know how to engage and all of those things. But in reality, just as there are white cults, there are black cults as well. Those don't get as much attention. And I think about all of those people who are stuck in those environments, who won't get saved and who won't get the ability for somebody to advocate for them. So that's one piece. The other piece is that a lot of people were calling these individuals dumb. And it's so funny how documentaries work. And I think that is my main interest in all of this, because one day I would love to make films and I would love to make documentaries as well, especially through the education lens, because that is another passion of mine. It's really important who tells the story and how the story is told. Because if we're doing the juxtaposition between the Hulu documentary and the Hood Horrors documentary, the Hulu documentary has a tone, has a voice, and they're telling you exactly what they want you to feel, know, and understand. Hulu documentary wants you to know that these individuals that were a part of the cult were victims. These individuals who were a part of the cult were strategically manipulated around the idea of blackness. And I think that's so interesting, because it's just every cult has its thing, right? A lot of cults are rooted in religion, rooted in maybe spirituality, rooted in the lifestyle that maybe has been lost or they desire to have. And then with the Nature Boy, and it kept on changing. So it was carbonation, it was melanation and then carbonation, what have you. Let's call it the Nature Boy cult. With the Nature Boy cult, it is rooted in the idea of being melanated, being black, being pseudo-Afrocentric. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because it's just the things don't add up. The things don't make sense. But that was his strategy. That was his tactic. The idea of naturalism and the idea of being black, and that was the hook. And I think it's in terms of marketing and for it to be a manipulation tactic, it's really smart, because I know so many people. I always joke about this, but I'm being very serious about it at the same time. My dad is a Hotep. He has Hotep sensibilities. So I was raised around, I went to a Pan-African charter school. So I was learning the alphabet in Swahili. when I was younger. So it's just like, I know these people. All that to say is like, I know these people who are very like Afrocentric, like even with my aunts and my uncles, like they are definitely that. Like my uncle, I didn't know my uncle's real name until I was older, and he got a piece of mail because he changed his name to like an Afrocentric name. Like I grew around like going to African drum sessions and all of those things. So all that to say is like, I think that to target people in those demographics who want to feel closer to their African roots, closer to nature, like that is a large swath of people that don't get necessarily targeted to. And I think that leaves so much room for misinformation. And in addition, ain't nobody checking for them, right? Like, I thought it was so telling when the white girl from Canada comes to the camp. Everything was unearthed. Everything was going crazy. Everything was now being questioned and they were being looked at. That was the first time, from what I saw in both documentaries, that was truly the first time they got national recognition and somebody cared. Right at that time, based off of the Hood Horrors documentary, around 70 people had already been recycled in and out of his influence and their physical like location before that white lady got in there. Nobody cared. And when I say nobody, I mean society. Obviously, the individual families cared. And I think like I liked that the Hood Horrors like showed that. It showed how individual family members were reaching out and saying like, hey, I care about you. What are you doing? But all that to say is that I think what was shown on the Hulu documentary is showing his manipulative tactics, showing that he was a physical abuser, because that was highlighted a lot in that documentary. Also, it was more of a narrative around like how this man was a bad man and how he aligned with all of the other bad men that we know. When we deal with Hood Horrors, and I'm still going back and forth to be honest, and y'all can tell me in the comments what's your opinion if you've actually seen it, if it's objective or not. Like, I'm really trying to figure out that. Like, is the Hood Horror multi-part documentary objective or not? Because he's definitely doing what a true documentary should be doing, which is documenting what has happened. He's giving you chronological information, minimal narration. He's just like setting it up. He's like, this is what's happening here. This is what's happening here. There's not too much of his opinion. But what I see within that is Nature Boy becomes, to me, more sympathetic. Nature Boy, to me, has more of a voice, because a lot of the documentation is coming from Nature Boy's account. Not all of it. I think he does a good job of like showing these individuals and their mentality and how they were indoctrinized with Nature Boy's quote unquote religion, because that religion don't make no dang sense. Pre getting physically into the camp. And we can talk about people's reality versus expectations. I talk a little bit about that in my first small bites when I talk about 500 Days of Summer. It's so interesting about the expectation that they have and the reality that they live. And I think Umi was one of those individuals that we see in Hood Horrors. But anyway, the documentation, majority, not all, but majority of the documentation that we see is coming from Nature Boy's lives, is coming from Nature Boy's mouth. And what Nature Boy does, and I think it once again is part of the manipulation tactic, is speak for them, right? He says, So tell me, this is how you felt, right? And he's like affirming of like, this is what you told me. This is how you felt. This is what's going on. Or he explains the situation for the audience. So already we are on the narrator side. Already we are on the dominant voices side in the conversation. So I think that bleeds out, whether intentional or not intentional, into the Hood Horrors documentary. In addition, his opposition, Nature Boy's opposition, were also not good people either. I'm sorry, like, or maybe not sorry. Like, the individuals you had, I forget the name, something Pharaoh. Is it King Pharaoh or something Pharaoh? And Ashe something. And that's funny, that's my cousin's name too. They were homophobic. Let's call it being a bean. They were homophobic. And their priorities and it seems like their ideals were also not up to par either. So it was just like, it was two people that I don't agree with trying to snuff each other out. So it was just like, the people that you brought to present opposition to Nature Boy, is it that these are the only people available, and or is it because you lean more towards their point of view? I don't know. I don't have those answers. But those are the things that I'm trying to figure out. And those are the things that I'm like weary of. I'm just like, like, do you follow these people? Is this something that you believe? Because it's just like, But overall, I think it's just, I think it's just very sad. Because it's just like I think the thing that really truly got to me, and once again, it wasn't in the Hulu documentary, but it's these people that truly came to get help for whether they had sexual diseases, or they had heart issues, or they needed guidance because of Aaron was a very interesting character to me. Because you see that he was a lost person after he left the military. And I just think about so many people that are lost in this world after leaving the military, and like how they lead a life sometimes, unfortunately, of destruction, getting into drugs or getting into crime. And I think, and I'm so interested in that like pipeline, because I feel like people talk about it, but it's not talked about enough, of the military industrial system to like to being unhoused, or to getting on drugs, or to getting PTSD, or to falling themselves in cults. I think there is a large connection to that. Not everybody, obviously, but you see a lot of that, and I'm just interested on studies and research about that. I haven't done that deep diving, but I am thinking about doing a video about the military industrial system in the lens of women. So maybe that will fall underneath that research. But all that to say, I think Aaron was an interesting character because he came there after leaving the military lost, but he actually militarized carbonation. He militarized the cult. And I just like, I thought that was so interesting, and it made me sit of like, you can engage and be in trauma and then reproduce that trauma, right? The most simplistic hurt people. That's what that gave. And in addition, the fact that like a woman died following the teachings of this man, and like, if it wasn't obvious, the man is dumb. The man don't make no sense. The man just be spewing out stuff, and it's just like, what are we talking about? Like, literally, what are we talking about? Like, he's not a charismatic orator. Like, he's not, like, there are certain thing, like, because I'm never trying to blame the victim of a cult, because there are manipulating tactics that are used to lure people in. And once again, I think it's being Afrocentric, and that not a lot of people not speaking to that on the mainstream, so people connect to that. They talk about like how they would look up Dr. Sebi, and then he would pop up talking about like eating nuts and berries for the rest of your life. Like, where's your nutrients? You not, and sorry, and an aside, it's just like, you are such a fraud. Like, y'all, like, okay, cool. Yes, I do believe that your diet helps your health. I don't eat meat. I do not eat meat, and I'm currently part of a garden collective. So I'm not only trying to grow the produce that I eat, but I'm also trying to take certain things out. I get that. I get that. In addition, if you have an STD or a heart problem, berries is not going to help you. A grape a day is not going to do it. You can't convince me. You have to take care of yourself. So it was just like very irritating, and it honestly pissed me off that you had these people coming sick, coming weak, and listening to you and just becoming weaker. One of the people in the hood horrors were saying, like, who was thinking about being a part of the group, saw them in real life and realized that they were emaciated, that they were thin, that they were skinny. Like, you can look great on camera. Camera tells lies, okay? The deception of a camera. And we're gonna get back to that because I'm gonna wrap this up. But these individuals were sick, and you preyed upon them. You had women being, unfortunately, and I don't even like to say that word, but that was exactly what was happening. They were being passed around. You saw women being passed around. Today you're my wife, tomorrow you're somebody else's wife, and then I'm gonna boomerang you back. Like, horrible. Knowing that some of these individuals had STDs. They said they came here for the cure of STDs. But also, what was discussing, going back to the young pharaoh or king, the pharaoh nigga, you were shaming these individuals for having STDs. And it's just like the culture around how we engage with individuals. It's just like there's no education around, once again, do STD checks, but there's no education around to prevent getting STDs, but there's also no sympathy when individuals get it. It's just like, you're not going to help me in the beginning and you're not going to help me in the end. And it's just like, I think us as a society have to work on how we engage with people. They are not lepers. They're not pariahs. They don't cough and then you disintegrate. They're still human beings that deserve human being decency. And that was not afforded to these individuals when they were being talked about. I think the idea of knowing that someone has an STD and spreading it around is unsafe. And individuals that carry this, they should still be treated and talked to, and not like they're animals. Like, am I crazy? Are they less of a human because they have an STD? So like, that was also a nasty when I was hearing the opposition of that. They were homophobic. They were, and they talked really bad about people who had STDs, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. But I think overall, it's the magic of this, right? It's the magic of that thing right there. That screen will make things make things seem so amazing, so grand, so engaging. Like, social media can mobilize and start revolutions in the most positive ways, but can also be so deceptive. Like, even with me, with creating content, like, I'll take certain pictures in the daytime, certain pictures at nighttime, and then like collage it all together as if it was within an hour. Granted, I don't think that means that I should be put in prison or go to jail, but it's still manipulating the idea or the imagery of something. And because he had a camera, he can show good pieces, the good parts, where the women out grazing the grounds and finding fruit. You can pick and choose what you decide to show. In addition, You can cut out the messy parts. Like in this video, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to hear me stuttering through these lines and through these words. I'm going to sound coherent. And like overall, I think I sound coherent. But when I'm not getting my message across or not getting my words across, I'm cutting that out because that is not, one, entertaining, and two, that's not coherent, and you can't get what I am trying to say. You're not getting the messy pieces. And I think that is the manipulative tactic of what this camera can do, what this microphone can do, what this computer can do, all of these things. And that just makes cults so like intensely more powerful than what it was like in the 1920s, right? Like, yes, there were still cults going on, but now anyone is able to spread their message through this screen. And I think that is the scary part of it all. Okay, moving on. So I recently made a post. Well, not that recent, maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know. And I simply said I was not interested in watching the Michael Jackson movie. Like, I just did not want to spend my hard-earned money to go watch that movie. I'll wait until like it comes out on like HBO or what have you, where I could be in my house, comfortable in my bed, and watch the film. I never said I wasn't watching the film. I never said I did not enjoy Michael Jackson's music. Like, love Michael Jackson. Like, his songs live rent-free in my head. Like, I know a lot about him too, so it's not like I just listen to his music. Like, I think as most people, we learned a lot about him. Like, growing up, The Wiz was my movie that I played on my VHS repeatedly. So like, Michael Jackson is my childhood and is my mama's childhood, like all of these things. Y'all came for my neck. And I'm just like, what did I say that was crazy? Like, y'all are mad because I was just like, oh, it didn't seem like a good movie. And I was just like, because sometimes I'm like a dog with a bone, and I'm just like, I'm really curious about what people's perspective is when they saw this movie. So I asked my friends who saw the movie, and they were like, no, it's not a movie, it's a concert. Feeds into what I'm saying. And then I listened to the critics, and they're like, oh, no, this is not good. Oh, this is just like for money and to feed the state. Feeds into what I'm saying. Once again, I have not seen this movie yet, but it was just like, it really pissed me off on all this vitriol that I was getting because I said I didn't want to see a movie. And you can't even say you got to be careful about your platform, because I'm positive that only about 5 people will watch this podcast. I'm still new. A lot of people are not listening to me yet. So it's just like, I don't have influence to persuade people to watch it or not. So like, cut the BS. Like, you just want to be mean to be mean. And we can have a larger conversation about how people are just so nasty behind. Once again, I think maybe the theme of this whole podcast is just how this social media thing is just like very insidious. But people are so mean behind these computers, behind these screens, and it's just like, you would not engage with people like that in real life. And I don't engage with people in real life. I keep the same energy on how I am at work, how I am at home, how I am with my mama. You can ask my mama, okay? I keep the same energy of leading with love, holding people accountable, calling them in, but also being kind and caring. Like, that is my energy. That's what I'm like. I'm always going to fight for the little man. I think my friend said it very well, because it's just like, even if it's not happening to me, I'm going to call out that something's unfair. Like, that is just my energy. And I'm going to try to be objective and try to hold space for other things. So when I'm saying like, oh, it didn't look like it was going to be interesting, because I feel like a lot of the information from what we hear, like Diana's not going to be in there. Like, we know that Michael loved Diana. Diana was a mentor to him. Janet's not going to be in there. Janet's his dang sister. And Janet is outside of Michael. Janet's the second popular Jackson. How you not going to put Janet in there? So all that to say is just like, I'm talking crap about this movie that I have not seen, right? I'm horrible. I'm a horrible person, I guess. But and that's the thing, like, to be very frank, I wasn't talking bad about the movie. I'm saying that the movie didn't look like it was gonna be good. I am saying from my first impressions of the trailer, it didn't look enticing to me. How? Like, why are trailers a thing? Trailers are a thing to get people excited, to get people to want to run and jump and go see that. Like, Is God Is and I Love Boosters. I'm excited to see those movies because of the trailer. I'm like, ooh, okay, all right. The trailer brings you in, and all I was saying is that trailer was never bringing me in. That trailer told me all I needed to know about the film, and what I've been hearing from critics who actually have seen the film, that I trust their opinions. They are confirming what I'm feeling. But that was me never saying that I wasn't going to watch the film. I literally said I'm watching it when it comes out on TV. And I probably will still do that. Possibly. I don't know. You know? But all that to say, it's just like, I feel like I need to back up what I am saying. And I am going to make a top 5-ish, because normally I do top 5s, but it's going to be a top 5-ish biopics that I love and that I think are quality. So let's get into it. So it's going to be in no particular order, but the first one is going to be Better Man. Yes, I said Better Man. So it sounds crazy when you're describing it. It is a biopic about Robbie Williams, a British artist, and he is played by a monkey. Yes, he is played by a monkey. It sounds really crazy. It's a musical. I just wanna rock, DJ, 'cause you're making me feel so nice. When's it gonna stop, DJ? Love it. I did not know who Robbie. I think one of the reasons why I was just like enthralled with it, because I'm like, oh my God, this person is famous, and I never knew who he was. Like, America, we live in a bubble. But either way, the way that this monkey emotes, the way that we go on a journey with Robbie Williams, the way that we make connections, how he sings with his father and how his father leaves him, but then we bring it back to at the end, it was phenomenal. A Better Man is phenomenal. It's great. It's great. Watch it. Okay, so the next one is What's Love Got to Do with It? Literally a classic. I feel like I don't even need to explain why this is an amazing biopic. Like, we are first dropped into little Anna Mae singing her heart out. Bright light, mighty light, you know? But Angela Bassett gives us arms. She gives us legs. She gives us dance moves. She gives us facial expressions. You could not convince me that this is not Tina Turner. And this movie was based off of Tina Turner's autobiography. So it was raw, it was real, and I think it also opened up conversations about marital rhymes with grape. Because for a very, very long time, that wasn't even, in terms of the law, a crime. So we see this relationship get played out between Ike and Tina in such a raw way, and it was phenomenal. It still holds up. It's still great. It's still amazing. Like, what's love got to do with it? Period. Next one of my favorites, right here. I don't know if you can see it. Light might be too bright. Introducing Dorothy Dandridge, played by Halle Berry, and Halle Berry acted down as well. Like, the acting performance is amazing. In addition, it introduced me, well, let me not say it introduced me, but it introduced a lot of us to the inner workings of who Dorothy Dandridge was. I think Dorothy Dandridge for a long time was a footnote in terms of Hollywood history of being the first Black woman being nominated for an Academy Award. But what did that mean? What struggle did she go through? What journey did she have to endure to get there? And that movie showed us. And I like the narration of Dorothy as she's talking on the phone with Jerry as we're going through her life. And there's just, it's just like so much historical like richness to this film. And Halle looked great, you know, like on top of that, Halle looked gorgeous. And I believe she won a Golden Globe for that performance as well. And it just reignited my love for Dorothy Dandridge, because I actually, ironically enough, was introduced to her first through Carmen Jones. I think it's right here. So I saw that on VHS first, and then I saw the HBO introducing Dorothy Dandridge, and then I read Donald Vogel's, well, half read, right? Because I have an issue with not finishing books. But I read Donald Vogel's biography of her, which is really, really good. But so I ain't obsessed with Dorothy Dandridge. But great biopic. Great biopic. Next, which y'all can tell me in the comments. I'll take the debate on this. Oppenheimer. So, I would say that it's a biopic, but I also would say it's a smart biopic that Nolan does, because I think at this point in time, the normal moviegoer knows how biopics are structured. And I think that is one of the reasons that I was not compelled to watch Michael, is because I do not want a run-of-the-mill biopic anymore. Don't you dare start when this child is young. Don't you start when the child is young. I don't want to see a school and how the teachers say that they're this, they're talented. I want to see something interesting. I want to see something unique. You know what I mean? One way of doing that is snapshotting a part in someone's life, a time, right? A section. So we see Oppenheimer from college into the aftermath and conversations after the A-bomb. That's interesting. That like we see how he got that educational distinction, and then we see the aftermath of what he has done. To me, that is interesting. And we volley back and forth, and it's through the lens of a trial. It's interesting. It gives us something else, and gosh, was it visually pleasing? It was so visually pleasing. That is a biopic. Another one that was very unique that I was in love with, and I told my brother that he needs my niece and nephew to watch this, was Piece by Piece, the Lego movie for Pharrell. Something different, something new, right? And I recall like watching interviews from Pharrell, and he too had the same sentiment of biopics are boring. Biopics don't do it. Let's switch it up. Let's do something different. So he said, I want to be a Lego. This man said he is going to be a Lego. And he literally, in the Lego movie, has the music video of Drop It Like It's Hot reenacted. In Legos! People are smoking grass in Legos! Like, that is something unique. That is something different. That is something that we can engage in. That's interesting. And I think that is what we have to contend with if we're saying biopics are good now. Okay? Do you understand the standard that we're setting? We're going to keep on going. Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a biopic of Henry Hill. We follow Henry Hill as a child all the way up until after he testifies. Goodfellas is a good biopic. All right, we're going to keep it going. Milk. Milk, good biopic. We don't see Milk as a baby. We see Milk as soon as he steps foot in San Francisco and starts doing that political movement towards gay rights. Milk, Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Can is a biopic. Another quality biopic. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's cheeky. It's good. And lastly, literally a biopic that I have shown to my students in parts. They didn't see the whole movie, but sections. Ray gave Jamie Foxx his first Oscar. He was Ray Charles. He acted down, but also it was vibrant. Even though it low-key is paint by numbers, we see Ray Charles as a child all the way up to when I think he's winning an award for Georgia. But it was something that was engaging with it. And I can't put my finger necessarily on it, but it gave you snapshots. But I think partially because it gave you snapshots of what it looked like to go through addiction, what it looked like to engage in fame, what it looked like to engage in being a black man in that society. And it's so interesting because it could have been a paint by numbers, but how they engaged with the film made it not that at all. But of biopics that are actually good. So when I say that certain things are not interesting to me, this is the expectation that I want. This is the excitement that I want. This is the viewing experience that I want. I'm definitely going to report back because now it's a saga. I'm definitely going to report back on when I do watch Michael and my opinions on that. If you do care, tell me if you care in the comments. I don't know. But I'll let you know how I feel. But those are some biopics that I truly do enjoy. So now let's talk about some movie and TV news. So I am an avid watcher of Love is Blind. Love is Blind. And we recently found out that Chelsea and Kwame from season 4, I believe, has announced their divorce. What are our thoughts on that? For me, I never really understood the relationship in the beginning. Like, the relationship just seemed off. He just seemed like he was constantly in stress and turmoil about this relationship. But once again, that thing right there, it's about how it's edited, it's how it's produced, all of those things. I'm always thinking in the back of my head, because now, child, my friend done had me watch Love Island. But now I'm thinking about Love Island and how it's so heavily produced and manipulated, and how Shelly talked about how she cried all the time, and we never see her shed more than a tear, possibly. So maybe he was in love and enthralled with her the whole time, and then, you know, things fall apart as it naturally does. They were together for 4 years, and I felt like that was honestly a really good season. Like, maybe I should do like a top 5 of my favorite Love is Blind seasons. But like, season 4, you had like Chelsea and Kwame, you had Brett and Tiffany, which I love Brett and Tiffany. You had Zach and Bliss and that triangle. You also had Marshall and Jackie. So all of those things were just like very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really interested now on how Chelsea will approach, because she now works for Love is Blind, works for Netflix. How those conversations when she's trying to prep individuals, because apparently, and Jessie Woo has done this work, but apparently what Chelsea's role is as a psychologist I think she maybe a therapist or something like that, but she kind of talks about her experience, and I think she can still pull from that, but like her experience now looks different because she's no longer with Kwame. So I don't know if she's as valuable, which sucks, but I don't know if she's as valuable because her relationship has not lasted. And maybe that was a pressure as well of just being a public figure and making sure that your relationship looks solid and lasts. So it's unfortunate. I'm always sad when relationships end in general, but I don't know. I never, as the kids say, I never really shipped them. I never really had it for them. They just did not seem like a good mesh at all. But Kwame, trust and believe, he was looking for a white lady. He gave, like, I'ma find me one through these hedges, through these bushes, through these Lovers Blind streets, or Married at First Sight, because I believe he applied for Married at First Sight as well, because it's the same production company. He was going to find himself a white woman, okay? Come hell and high water. So that is one thing that I heard about. And another thing, speaking of Netflix, another thing is Nick Cannon is coming out with a docuseries on how he juggles 12 kids with 6 baby mamas. You know what? Nick Cannon has been a topic of conversation and been the poster child. Him, Cam Newton, Akon have been the poster child of men who have too many children. So, on a marketing standpoint, if you are going to profit off of that, go ahead. It's actually smart. Like, if you really think about it, it's actually smart because we always talk about them. How they are specifically examples of men with too many kids. So might as well do a Netflix docuseries, I guess. Am I tuning in? Absolutely, because I think it's more voyeurism than anything, because I do not promote this. Unfortunately, these children have a father who is spread thin by choice. Like, you have decided to have multiple households, and just because you financially provide, and like they say they financially provide, but we don't know what that looks like. We don't know the ins and outs of that. And hopefully they don't continue to do that. They, as in the men who have multiple kids, like a Akon or a Cam Newton. We're all interested, regardless of what area, where we lie on the spectrum, whether if we're disgusted or we are enthusiastically in support of what's happening with these families. We're all interested. So I'm not going to lie and be like, oh no, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to watch that, and child, we're going to come back and talk about it. Like, tell me if you're interested in watching it in the comments. I can already see how this is going to go. This is going to be a promotion of this type of a lifestyle, but it's like, one, Nick Cannon works his butt off to afford these dang kids. Ain't nobody make it big like this, not in Trump's economy. And two, this is horrible. This is horrible promotion. But it's just like, what I hope and pray is that there is backlash to this, so people will understand that this is not ideal. This is not the way that one should live their lives. I'm also thinking about like the criticism and the response to the criticism and response, because like I'm definitely on the team of like, stop having babies, stop having kids. But people might be like, oh, y'all don't say anything to people who are polygamous. People who are polygamous, 9 times out of 10, live in the same household. They are communal. It is community. You take care of my kids, I take care of your kids, and the person is still in the household 9 times out of 10. Whether you agree with polygamy or not, that is a better structure than what these men have. What these men have is 9 times out of 10, they're living independently outside of all these kids, and or they're living with one particular mother and children, and then the other children are living somewhere else. And so at the end of the day, regardless of how y'all feel about Cheyenne Bryant, that is a broken home. Those are going to be broken children in some way, form, or fashion, and they are going to either think that this is condoned and this is okay, and or they're going to be resentful of their father. And there was a clip that I saw about Nick Cannon, and he can't even name all of his kids. You can't even name all of your kids? That's a problem. That's a problem. And once again, I hate false equivalency and straw man arguments, because you cannot compare this to people having multiple kids like in the 1920s. A lot of the time people had multiple kids because they are farmhands. They were out in the field. They were doing work because of how economy was set up. Shoot, that's how schools are out on the summertime. Schools are out during high agricultural times. That is how society was set up. Once again, that's different because everybody's in the household versus having multiple children in different households where you don't engage. And unfortunately or fortunately, I have seen that in real time because, like I said, I dated a man with multiple kids when I was younger. He wasn't parenting those babies. He wasn't engaging with those babies on a day-to-day. He tried his best, I guess, from what he told me. I don't know. But these kids were broken. These kids were resentful of this man. And I didn't need to meet them to know that. And that's what it is. But anyway, he's coming out with a show, y'all. How do we feel? Moving on. I am reminded again that Ryan Coogler is coming out with an X-Files reboot. I'm reminded again because I forgot for a moment. And then I'm reminded again because we got some featured casts that are going to be on the first season of X-Files. So I'm going to run through some of the actors that will be on the first season. We got Amy Madigan, the lady who played in Weapons, you know, the little thing. Aunt Gladys who played in Weapons. She is going to be on the X-Files. Excited. Ben Foster, Devery Jacobs. I don't think I know her. I'm not too familiar with what her work. You can put down in the comments what she's done. Steve Buscemi. That's going to be interesting because I loved Steve Buscemi in Fargo. Lachlan Monroe. I know him from like the Scary Movie too. This is going to be a good one. Tantu Cardinal. That's going to be a good one. That's my good sis from Killers of the Flower Moon. And if you watched Echo, she was also in that too. And I like the character that she played. Her and her little boo, fake boo, however you wanted to call that relationship. And then it's also just in general, Ryan Coogler's two leading cast are going to be people of color, with Danielle Detweiler, one of the main stars. So I am excited. So, all right. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Like, this was really fun making this one. I definitely had a lot of things to chat about. This is going to be a hot button one, so just be kind in the comments. Don't be rude. So if you did like this episode, make sure you check the episode before where I am talking about Beyonce's visuals. So I talk with my friend Vem, and we talk about Beyonce's visuals and kind of preparation because apparently, we don't know if it's going to happen, but apparently Beyonce is going to drop in May, maybe, for Act 3. But if not, maybe it's next month. So I got excited. So I'm like, I want to put this video out. And on top of that, what I am currently working on for my next episode is going to be a conversation about Tony and Joan from Girlfriends and their relationship and how keeping childhood friendships is very hard. So I want you to engage with me, keep up, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and also make sure you hype this video up because it really does help out the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.